Yeah, I watched another. I don't know why I'm watching so many similarly themed movies these days. Because they are indeed boring me in the end. Kind of like how I watched loads of horror once upon a time, and I mean, the occasional one can have a no noticeable, palpable effect, but loads altogether, yeah, they don't quite, do they? Um, I suppose every genre can be boring if there's loads of them all at once and such. But yeah, I watched another supposed rom-com, and it doesn't really have either, but it supposedly tries to have. Just I don't know how. You know, um, I mean, many people seem to think that movies somehow are funny if they have vomiting in them. I don't get it. It ruins movies for me. It just ruins it. And this one did somehow, and loads of it though. And what the hell? Either way, I mean, it still didn't feel romantic, even though it tried at the end, to go for the pathos angle with the separation, but didn't really feel it. So I didn't the separation didn't really feel that like it was merited or anything. And with regards to comedy, it's supposed to be a comedy, then it just didn't have much at all. At all. I mean, yeah, no, what no, going to seven weddings in a yeah, it's not quite funny at all. Wouldn't be in real life, even on screen. It's just not really. I mean, some things maybe, like I think the only funny thing there was is when she was imagining her dancing off to his ex, and she was doing it in her mind, and then when she tried to do it in reality, it came out so badly. I suppose that's pretty much it, though. Mm, I can't exactly think of much more than that. As I said, doesn't quite have a lot of stuff either romantic or funny. So in both departments, it doesn't really succeed at all. It really fails. Yeah, it's and just adding vomiting to the story just makes it fail so much more. Makes no sense. Um, yeah, in a way, it's was sort of similar to The Wedding Singer, I suppose. All these movies with wedding in the title, I really should stop watching them. Yeah, I'm just these kind of movies, they really think that that they're possibly being romantic. I'd rather they focus on comedy, because you see, this is what happens. They try to be romantic, but there isn't really any romance, especially after characters vomiting. How could there be? And then there's no room for comedy, and I mean, there barely was, but there was really even less room. I mean, if she's just crying in her car, and while talking to others. Well, obviously there's no comedy in that, but since they didn't seem like they really set up the romantic aspects well before, especially after a breakup, doesn't seem like there is quite. And why would anyone break up if they don't really want to do that? I don't get it. Anyway, yeah. So it doesn't quite work. I should. I think I'll stick with pure comedy from now on. Maybe not. Likely not. They're kind of like fast food. I don't know, just cheap stuff like sweets. But often they're not even sweet. They're just bland. That's the problem. So and if one does eat a lot of chocolates, then not only does it become boring, but it can be painful physiologically as well, not to mention other things. So yeah, it's a problem, and but I really shouldn't, just I'm kind of watching them so also because I got a problem with the TV, and um, movies that that are darker look worse currently. So I don't know. I just rom-coms don't tend to be dark generally, I suppose. But then again, maybe plain comedies do not either. Of course, ultimately, movies all are distinct, very distinct. But I think we could generalize a bit, and I suppose say that generally, I suppose maybe comedy does normally sort of you know comedy I assume would be more lighted than like other genres like horror and such. That's more about darkness. So I suppose there is some sort of difference in genres, but I'm supposed to talks for normal comedy. I'm not sure why rom-com specifically, but yeah, 'cause, yeah, this um the war thriller I watched recently, Allied, didn't look good at all. It had a lot of night scenes, and TV kind of ruined it. Yeah, for some reason the LEDs are just blaring out for some reason. Anyway, yeah, so this was quite bland. Anyway, as I said, it's just goes to show, I'm not talking about other things, uh, and yeah, so it is. I've seen that. It's just and I just wish they just focused on the comedy mainly. That's always the problem with these movies. They really think they could do something in romantic, but no, romance isn't really. There's not really much of that when it comes to rom-coms generally. And if they try, this is why they fail. Because you don't. I mean, after romance, so they should really focus on comedy. Really. I mean, romance is only really done well in just plain dramas. I think when the comedy aspect isn't even there at all. I suppose it needs more of a focus. Yeah, just yeah, it's a problem. But anyway, yeah. But apparently, so did I think I watched at least one other movie from this director. Yeah, yeah, and recently as well actually. So-called Killers. It's strange because it's I don't know. I'm assuming he did similar things before, but apparently the movie before this one, called Paranoia, I haven't watched it, but apparently it's a thriller. So there's a bit different things, but not quite very different, I suppose, because Killers was both a an attempted romance and an attempted thrill as well, whereas Wedding Year was just a plain rom-com, no thrills really. That's the problem. Apparently, um, yeah, Legally Blonde apparently is apparently well his first and most popular, I assume. I'm not sure. Movie I haven't seen it yet though, so I have no idea what it is about. Well, yeah. So far I've only seen Killers and Wedding Year from this Robert Lukatic. Lukatic. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So from Australia. So yeah, it was bland though, and yeah. Um, Unfortunately, just wish it was more focused on the comedy mainly.